Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage, Lindsey Randolph.
Good morning. I heard last night was a little outrageous for some of you, so I hope everybody's awake. If not, I'll wake you up. So, like most millennials, I spend a ridiculous amount of time on my phone. Scrolling through endless things, endless memes, endless TikToks, you know, we love this stuff. So, late last year, I stumbled upon this meme. The point of this meme was the idea that 2022 could be a repeat of 2020. A terrifying thought? Yes. The stuff of nightmares? Definitely. But for me, this thought started to develop and evolve into the question, are we still mentally in 2020? Are we still struggling with the repercussions of that unprecedented year 2 years later? Are we still in the midst of work from home fury while also dealing with political upheaval, waves and waves of varying COVID-19 strains, an economic crisis, and supply chain issues? Unfortunately, the idea for this RIF talk evolved from this meme. But before I delve too deeply into how all of the current events affect time management and our work-life balance, I would like to begin today with a few questions. Quick show of hands. Over the past few years, how many of you have felt like this at one point or another? Okay, yeah, so you can put your hands down. So, how many of you feel as though you've been overwhelmed by the daily demands of your duties, work, familial obligations, etc.? I definitely know I have. So, how many of you have ever felt like there's just not enough time? All of us, all of us. So, last one. So you can yell this one out. How many hours are in 1 week? Anyone know? I know some of you partied a little too hard last night, but it's basic math, so it's 24 times 7. Anyone? Huh? So, it's 168. So, last show of hands. How many of you feel as though you are not utilizing your time to the best of your ability? Yeah, exactly. So 168 hours may seem like a significant amount of time, but I often find that we are not utilizing our time to the best of our abilities, and in failing to do so, our work-life balance is negatively and often severely affected. So how do we rectify this issue? By managing our time and developing, even continuously developing, our time management skills, which will help us develop that work-life balance. So, first things first, how are we spending our 168 hours per week? In order to develop better time management and work-life balance, first we need to analyze where we are spending our current 168 hours. In the interest of time, I will not have you complete this activity, but I will demonstrate it, and all of the materials will be provided via QR code at the end of the session. So, how do I spend my 168 hours a week? Here's how I would like to spend it. So, we have 40 hours of work, 42 hours of sleep, and only a few hours of Netflix. This looks ideal, right? Absolutely ideal. But let's be honest, absolutely not realistic, in no way, shape, or form. Here's how I actually spend my time. Though we all have the best laid intentions, they are that, intentions. As you can see, I work well over 40 hours a week, sleep less hours than I should, spend less time with my friends and my family than I would like, and I spend entirely too much time scrolling through my phone, watching Netflix, any of the social medias. I'm there, spending way too much time. So, some of you may know I come from a background in higher education. I often did this activity with college students during my time at Texas A&M University. When we did this, shout out, like it. So, when we did this in the classroom, this was often an eye-opening activity for them because they began to see how they were potentially wasting all of their time. So, now you may be looking at this and saying, what? How? Who spends 20 hours a week mindlessly scrolling on their phones? I'll be honest, I'm guilty of it. Definitely done it. So, how are you similar to those college students that I was just referring to? Like, ask yourself that. So, before I remind everybody of the Candy Crush wave, I know you did it. I know y'all were all out there spending way too much time on the Candy Crush. So, I suggest each of you pull out your phone and check the screen time. This will show you how much time you truly spend with that mechanical device in your hand. So, iPhone released an update a few years ago, and you can now track how long you're spending on your phone and even break it down by each individual app. I recommend each of you to try this. So, you may find that you are spending significantly longer on your phones than you ever thought possible. Now, how exactly did I come up with the numbers on the screen? I looked at it in a slightly different way. So I said, I want to develop time management. How do I go about doing that? I divided it up into 30-minute time blocks. So I asked myself, what am I doing for every 30-minute time frame for that 168 hours per week? So here's one of my average weeks before any time management skills. As you can see, I'm working over 40 hours a week. I'm commuting, I'm wasting a significant amount of time on my weekends, etc. So, how do we begin to change these habits? That's why you're all here, and that's why hopefully I am here to impart some knowledge. Here are a few tips to do so. First and foremost, determine what is most important to you. We all have the same overlaying priorities. So we all have work, we all have family, we all have friends, but we need to take the time to prioritize what is most important to us by setting aside time each week to dedicate to those people, those hobbies, those events, those things that we truly care about. So plan lesser important activities around your higher priorities and plan very specifically. Identify your most productive hours and utilize them efficiently and effectively. The better the plan, the more likely you will be to stick to it. When you're creating your plan, make room for entertainment, for your family, for your friends, your hobbies, and relaxation. Do not neglect time for eating properly, sleeping the recommended number of hours, completing your errands, and self-care. Any extra time that you may have at the end of the week, you can dedicate to downtime or to extra time for work or your higher priorities. Remember, balance is key. Creating this balance will not happen overnight. It will not. So, you may need to plan out 1 week in advance each week for 3 to 6 months before you establish the habit that is work-life balance. So you may be thinking, Lindsey, this sounds great, but in this line of work, I'm on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. How do I manage that when anything can happen at a moment's notice? How could I possibly balance that with a family, with work, and with being on call? My advice to you, institute a flexible hour. Now, whether this hour is really early in the morning before your family is awake, or late in the afternoon before anyone else is home, or even the hour before you go to sleep, take that hour and put it into your schedule. Plan an hour during your most productive time if possible, and use that time as a variable. If you need it, you have it. If an emergency doesn't occur, you have that extra 60 minutes to dedicate to emails or to work or to your family or to your hobbies, whatever you want to use. So you will find that having that flexible time will allow you to handle emergencies without sacrificing a substantial amount of time, particularly outside of the office. In time management, balance is key. Developing a proper time management is essential to maintaining work-life balance. It may take weeks or months, or for me, a consistent lifelong challenge to develop those time management skills. Time management and work-life balance, they're up to you. No one else can give you these skills. They are up to you. So do not let 2022 be 2022.